In the previous video in this class, we showed you how to create a multilingual Joomla 3 website the easiest possible way, which was to install a brand new copy of Joomla and to choose to make a multilingual site at that point. Joomla does so many things automatically for you that creating a multilingual site from scratch is by far the easiest way to do it. However, not all of us are going to be lucky enough to be in that situation. Some of you may have to translate an existing website. That's what we're going to cover in this video. We're going to start with a plain looking Joomla website with existing content, and we're going to show you how to translate it into Spanish from this situation here. It's going to be a 5-step process we're going to go through. The first step is we're going to log into our admin, and we're actually going to install the version of the language for our Joomla admin and front end. We're going to go to Extensions and Language Manager, and we're going to click on the Install Language button. We're going to install Spanish for our example site, and it's going to install many of the language strings we need to completely translate our site. So I'm going to search for Spanish, and it's going to pull up the result that I need. Don't worry if it says the language pack does not match this Joomla version. In my experience, especially with the more popular languages like Spanish, all of the language strings you need are going to be there. It may be that someone just hasn't tagged this language pack for the very latest release of Joomla. So we can check the button next to Spanish and click on the install button up in the top left. There we go. Installation was successful. That is step 1 in our process. Step 2, we're going to actually define the settings for Spanish. We're going to go to Extensions and Languages and click on Content Languages on the left-hand side. At the moment, only English is set up with the details that we need. So click on New in the top left corner, and we're going to be able to choose the flag, the settings, the URLs, and other things for our Spanish language settings. First, we're going to put the word Spanish into the title box. This is because the title is the word for Spanish according to the default language of the site, which in this case is English. However, title native, the box below, is where we put the word for Spanish in Spanish. So into that box, we're going to put Español. If someone is browsing the site in English, they're going to see Spanish referred to as Spanish. If someone is browsing the site in Spanish, they're going to see Spanish referred to as Español. The next box underneath, language tag, is one of the trickier elements of the setup. We're going to use ES lowercase and then ES uppercase with a hyphen in between. But there are multiple different possibilities here. ES is the way we refer to Spanish. However, there are multiple different versions of Spanish available. The uppercase ES afterwards refers to Spanish as it's spoken in Spain. But you can have a version of Spanish spoken in Mexico, in Colombia, in all sorts of different places. One of the best ways to get an idea of the different language tags that are available is to go over to the Wikipedia page on language localization. That will give you an overview of the codes. For example, you can have EN-GB, which is the default for our site, but we can have EN-US for American English, EN-CA for Canadian English, EN-IN for Indian English, and then with Spanish we have multiple possibilities too. Portuguese has 2, Tamil has 2. So these different variations of English and Spanish use different words, use different spellings, and so it is possible to enter different choices into this language tag. The URL language code refers to the letters that are going to go into the URL. If we have a contact page in English, it's probably going to start with EN before the word contact. If we have a contact page in Spanish, ES is going to be our choice for the URL. Image prefix is more simply known as the flag. Here's the flag of Azerbaijan. Here's the flag of Belgium. We could choose whatever flag we wanted to represent Spanish, although it may make more sense to choose the Spanish flag. This is what people are going to see on the front end of the site when they click to change from one language to another. Finally, click on Save and Close, and you'll see that Spanish is now listed as a content language for the site alongside English. We've now done 2 steps in our setup process for a new multilingual site. Step 3 is to go to Extensions and Plugins, and we need to enable 2 different plugins. One is called System Language Filter, the other one is called System Language Code. Both of these can easily be found if we type language into the search box up at the top. Those were the only 2 plugins that came back when I searched for language. I'm going to enable both of them, and easy as that. That is step 3 in our process complete. Step 4, we're actually going to produce a module that will show the flags we've chosen on the front of the site and allow people to change the language. Let's go to Extensions and Modules, and the module we want doesn't exist yet, so we're going to click on New, and we're going to choose the Language Switcher module. First, let's give our module a title. I'm simply going to call it Language Switcher, and then I'm going to actually publish it to the site. I'm going to choose a position. I'm simply going to choose the right sidebar position. Now click on Save, and we've completed step 4. Our Language Switcher module has been saved, and if we go to the front of the site and refresh the page, we should see it on the right hand side. There's the module, but oddly, it's blank. We can't actually see the flags yet. The reason that we can't see any flags is that we haven't actually defined any content as being specifically English or specifically Spanish yet. This is going to be the 5th and final step in our process. Go to the admin, go to Menus, go to Manage and Add New Menu. We're going to make a new menu with the title English Menu, specifically for our English content. Menu type, let's put English Menu as well. Click Save and Close, and we're going to repeat that process again. We'll click on New, we'll put Spanish Menu as the title this time, and then Spanish Menu for the menu type. Click Save and Close, and there we go. We now have 3 different menus. All of our English links will go into the English menu, all of our Spanish links will go into the Spanish menu. Now that we have an English menu, let's make an English homepage too. We'll go to Menus and English Menu, and I'm going to click on New. The menu title will be English Homepage, and we're going to choose the menu item type of articles and featured articles. This is going to be a fairly traditional blog of articles on our homepage. On the right hand side, my status is wrong. I'm going to change it to published. And then a little bit further down, I'm going to specifically choose English as the language for this particular link. Now we're all set. We're going to set the default page option to yes to make this our homepage. Click on Save and Close. And there we go. We have an English homepage, and you can tell it is actually our homepage because there is a British flag under the home column. Normally we have a gold star in Joomla to mark the homepage. Now we have the language flag in order to indicate that this is the specific homepage for this language. What we need to do now, go to Menus, Spanish Menu, Add New Menu Item, and for the menu title, we're going to put Spanish Homepage, and we're going to choose Articles and Featured Articles again. on the right hand side. This time my status is correct, it's set to publish. The default page we're going to set to yes, and the language we're going to specifically choose Spanish. Click on Save and Close, and I'm in the wrong menu. If I change the filter from English menu to Spanish menu, I should now see that my Spanish homepage has the Spanish flag next to it. That means that if I go to menus, I'm going to see those two flags up there now. I'm going to see those instead of that normal gold star that you would see in Joomla. If I go to the front of the site and refresh my page, I'm going to see both flags are now available under the language switcher. Let's go ahead and try these flags out. At the moment the site is in English, so if I click on Spanish, I should hopefully see that some parts of the page are now translated into Spanish. You can see that in the login form we have Spanish text, and you can see the same thing has happened in the URL as well. We now are browsing a homepage that has ES in the URL instead of EN, and also the breadcrumbs are now in Spanish as well. So it appears that we've now gone through the 5-step process and successfully set up our site. Let's click on the English language flag now to test it. The login form has changed back. The URL is now EN for English. It seems as if we have now successfully translated this plain English site into Spanish, and we can successfully move back and forth between those two languages. So what you've seen so far is the basic setup process for translating an existing site. We first of all installed a new language. We installed Spanish. Then step 2, we set up a content language and we defined the text for the URL, which was going to be ES for Spanish. We chose the Spanish language flag, for example. Then we enabled the 2 language plugins. Then we published the language switcher module that you can see now. And then finally, we set up the menus, which allowed us to see the flags in the language switcher and actually move back and forth between English and Spanish.